Welcome. It's another episode of Ballatallcost podcast. We have Dan, aka Just a Dad, Mr. Matt Morgan from Ryan FC Girls, and Abbie Brunker from Ryan FC Girls and everywhere. A lot going on with you guys. Thank you for joining. Thanks for coming through, guys. It's been a long time coming. I've known Matt for a long time now, and Abbie a short while, but all good. How you doing, guys? I'm going to start with Abbie as the female in the room.
I'm all good, thank you.
Good. Matt, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
We're still trying to catch up and have a drink, aren't we?
Every week. Every week.
We'll get it sorted.
Busy lives.
Yeah, definitely. How are you, Dan?
And good. A little tired. Just got back in the country. Quick weekend away to Lanzarote.
Oh, boring. We don't want to hear about it. Boring.
Enjoying the sun. But I'm good. I'm back another week with the reduced panel, but we're here and it's all good.
Yeah, I think everyone's enjoying life this weekend. Some in Lanzarote, flying off, jetting away, drinking cocktails.
Have you been away for a week? Yeah.
Yeah, Palma. Yeah.
Nice. Just myself and you, Matt, stuck in the UK then.
Yeah, I don't even think I'm even going away this summer.
No.
Football, man, that's it. It's my life now.
Football is life. Well, let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about it. But before we talk about it, I'm just going to say to all those listening, please take a second. Can you smash that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notification? Dan, you're not doing the fingers up there.
You said listening. They can't hear it from listening. They can't see it.
Fair enough. And hit the comments. And hit us on Instagram. We are Ballatallcost. All right, without further ado, Matt, how's it going? It's been a long time catching up. I wanted to speak to you because obviously we coach together, friends away from coaching, and you made a big transition a while ago in your coaching journey. But before we get into that specifically, can you tell the listeners a bit about your footballing background? Did you play? Were you good? Where did it take you if you did?
No, I wasn't very good. I think the highest I played was combined counties. I think it was for Stenning Town way back when, but it was in and out of the reserve, so I was never really there. But it was a good level, and I enjoyed it. So it didn't really faze me. And to be honest, I'll kick a ball anytime there's a ball now. I'll kick it around. It's football. I love playing football all the time, and even with the kids, I'm more of a kid than them. But no, it's playing, and then I think once I got to about 30, I realised that there's no way that I was quick enough still. So I kind of packed it in really. I'll be rolling up to one training session instead of two, and then that was that. And then I'd be getting dropped, and I was like, you know what, I want to move on to other things. So yeah.
And was that the start of your coaching?
Yeah, a little bit. I think a little bit, but I think really the start of the coaching was when I had kids, and they got to the age of they wanted to start playing in a team or taking it a bit more seriously. 3, 4, 5 years old, and yeah, that's the reason I got into it really. It started with Frank, my oldest. He's now 10, same age as your Harris and Kaylin as well, Dan. Yeah, look, I took that team and it was under 7s and under 8s, under 9s, and then by the time it got to under 9s, I think some of the stuff around, how it worked at that top level, right? We're in the Echo League in Argentina. It's a high, it's pre-academy. It's that kind of level, how it is. So you got kids in and around that kind of possibly getting signed, academy level football, and obviously with that you get expectations of parents, and the whole journeys that everyone are on are very different, and bad behaviour starts to creep in on the sidelines from the coaches. I just got tired of it, I think. And, you know, my boy was injured that year as well. So, you know, he wasn't enjoying it as much. So I think I just I'd always started the girl stuff. And I think that was taking more of my headspace and more of, I'd say just more of the play. Like, it was more fun. There's a lot of stuff in the beginners girls environment, you know, and obviously it's developed a bit more since then. But, you know, when I set it up, it was just, they're all playing for joy, you know, pure joy. And it was just very different on the sidelines, very different on match day. And I think having those two parallels next to each other, just that coupled with wanting to see, you know, my youngest start to play football as well, wanted to see him play every week. I was just like, this is taking a lot of my time and it's draining me. And I'm just like, you know, do I really want to be doing this moving forward? So, you know, I just took a step back, and that's kind of when I started thinking about how to develop the girl stuff even further. But that had already started for a year. So
so let's talk about that, because how did you get into the girls' football? You were coaching boys. What made you actually think, do you know what, let me try and get into coaching girls? Did it go like that? Was there another trigger?
You know, it was pretty spontaneous, actually. Like, well, there was lots of things, right? So I think so I was coaching at the soccer school, you know, the Ryan Soccer School, 100 kids every week. You'd get like one girl rock up. So it was a mixed session officially. Like, it wasn't like it wasn't labeled a boys session. You know that environment.
Yeah.
And it's mad, it's busy, lots of kids playing football. One girl would turn up, if any. You know, I remember saying to Abbie, it's like, where are the girls, man? Like, there must be girls want to play football. Like, so we, you know, I remember saying to Abbie, I said, should we just do something? Like, as Rich said to you about setting up a girls team, if you know, and Abbie and Zoe were the only two female coaches in the club at the time. And I was just like, should we do it? And she's like, yeah, all right. Right, should we start it? Let's go. So, you know, I spoke to Rich, and he's like, yeah, I'm not doing it. I haven't got time, which is, you know, fair to some point where you've got 45 boys teams to run. Start from literally that conversation. We're like, right, okay. Right, do we know any siblings? Do we know any boys with sisters or whatever? How can we start this? That was literally, and then the week after or 2 weeks after, I think we were like, right, there's a bit of Astro. We're going to do it from this time to this time. See if we can get any girls to come along.
So, Matt, how did you go from? So for me, like, I've coached boys. How did you convince the parents that you're the right guy to teach their girls? Because I found, like, when I've gone to girl sessions, some of the coaches don't know how to adapt the communication and the way they interact with the girls to boys, and it's not the same. Yeah, I think how you communicate, how receptive the girls are to instruction, different to boys. So how do the parents think? How do you get parents to buy into you being the guy to teach their girls?
Well, I think initially, you know, it was me and Abbie doing it, you know, and I think it's beyond. I think it's underestimated having a role model in a female environment that they can look up to, they can build rapport with, they can affiliate to. Like, this is me, right? This is what I could be. And, you know, maybe Abbie, you jump in here as well, but we literally have 4 girls to start off with. One of them was Lachlan's sister. I think one of them was another bunch of Ryan FC girls, sisters, like brother, like they were the sisters of the brothers. So we had 4, I think, initially, like week 1. Is that about right, Abbie, from what I remember?
I think we had about 4 for the first 2-3 weeks, and we kind of questioned if we was going to get any more. And then out of nowhere, went from having 4 on a Saturday to 10 to 12 to 20, and then it just kept building from that. I think once people saw that there was a girl session going on, I think people maybe were skeptical at the beginning as to why this had come about. And I think once people started to buy into it, seeing that there was opportunities for the brothers and the sisters to play at the same time, that people started to buy into it, and then more were coming on Saturdays. But yeah, it started off about 4 players for the first 3 or 4 weeks.
So,
sorry, go on.
No, go on, Matt, go on.
Now, what is super important though is we started on the Astro. You know that as you come in, you've got your kind of big full-size Astro, and it's all divvied up into spaces, and we were in that. And I think the important part for us was we need to move, and they need to have their own space, because, you know, for a lot of reasons, but, you know, one of the most important is that they can feel like they can be themselves. They can play with freedom. They can express themselves. They can be stupid without worrying about anyone looking at them, especially when it's such a male-orientated sport. You know, at school they have the same thing, right? They rarely have their own space. They rarely get priority on, you know, there was one point where Dave and that lot were like, you know, they could stick them on the grass. And we were like, no, we're going to expand it, but we're going to have their own space. We're not just going to stick them in a corner somewhere where they don't feel valued, or it's a surface that's not up to the scratch that the boys have, right? It's like, why can't they have everything the boys have? And I think, Daniel, to answer your question there, I think just there's a few things, right? Is that one was having high-level coaching that came from a woman, Abbie in particular, having it as a good partnership between both of us in terms of what we could teach them, how we were interacting with them. And you're right, in terms of how you interact with them is very different from boys, and it's making sure you understand that and appreciating the different type of language, how much you push them, how much you don't push them. But I think having their own space, having a female role model that was a good coach that they could build a rapport with, where they were the two main things to start off with in terms of showing the parents and understanding, like, good environment, good coaching, good people, and people just slowly bought into it. And I think that one of the main things that we looked at was like how high the level of coaching was compared to all the other girls' sessions in the area. So slowly, we started to get girls from Ridgeway, from AFC Leighton, from all the other sessions, because the parents would come along and go, wow, this is actually coaching. You're actually teaching them ball mastery. You're actually teaching them, you know, they want to come back every week. The way that you're talking to them, the way that you've built rapport with them, like, I suppose it's good coaching, right? But I think a good coach also adapts the way that they interact, the way that they plan a session according to who's in front of them, right? It's just knowing the individuals in front of you and understanding those individuals. That's a long question.
So, Abbie, it sounds like Matt's give you a lot of praise there. Seems like about you, there won't be a Ryan girls team. So
that's what I heard.
I'm hearing Abbie this. Abbie's had a big impact on this. So, Abbie, my question to you is: there's going to be loads of coaches out there, women, men, boys, girls, that want to get into girls' game, and it's always the glamorous teach, coaching boys. But what tip would you give, or what tips would you give new coaches that maybe want to branch out from the boys' game and go, actually, I want to help the girls' game grow and make it better? And every week we see the great success women's football is bringing to the country, the nation, and the women's game in general is growing. So what tips would you give those new coaches, or even old coaches that think, you know what, I need to kind of go to a different pathway and work with girls? What would you do? What tips would you give them?
For me, it's all about going into something with an end goal out of it. So my biggest tip would be going there with a game plan, make a difference that you want to see. So for me, obviously working at Ryan for probably about 2-3 years before we even started the girls, like Matt said, there was no girls there, literally one, maybe a week, and then they'd show up, see the amount of boys, and they would leave. So for me, it was wanting to go into something and start this with Matt and have an end goal of having loads of girls like we have now, the numbers we have now and the teams we have now. So my tip would be go into something with an end goal. And if you want to make something happen, you have to do it yourself, because it's not going to, if you want something to happen, you can't sit back and watch. You need to make that happen. So obviously me wanting to see more girls in football, especially the club that I was working with, by starting up a girls session, we fulfilled that end goal. So my biggest tip would be the difference you want to see. So go in there with confidence, go in with a game plan, and trust in your own abilities. Whether you're a new coach, an old coach, whether you think you're good enough or not good enough, go into it. And if it goes wrong, there's enough support around football that you can rely on others. So for me, it was Matt. You know, when he suggested the idea, it's something that I wanted to do, but I didn't have the resources to do that. So that when Matt come along and he had them resources, use your support system. And, you know, something that Matt has started has become successful as it is. That would be my biggest tip. Use what you have around you and go into something with an end goal.
Great answer. Dan, you finished, or can I jump in there?
No, you can jump in. I've got loads, but you can jump in. It's fine.
Yeah, no, that's cool. If you had a follow-up, that's all. So, Abbie, Matt, as Dan said, gave you a glowing report, but we don't know Abbie. So I used to go to the soccer school, not me personally. I used to go along, used to see you coaching. Matt used to speak to me about kind of the girls setup and what he was doing. You were instrumental. He always wanted to make sure that you and then Zoe later on, or maybe at the same time, were involved in the girls session. I know there was some friction there, but we won't talk about that unless you want to. But what is your backstory? Because I've done a little bit of research on you. I've seen you play a little bit, you do a little bit of this, a little bit. But what's your story? Because like you said, you were at Ryan for 2 years and you had this drive and this ambition, and then you used the resource of Matt to work together to build it. But let's take it back a couple of years. How did you get into it?
So I only started playing football, I think I was 15 when I first started playing football. Never had an interest in it. My mum is biggest football fan I know, but I never got into it. I'd done horse riding growing up, so football was never like a sport that I wanted to get into. And it wasn't till being in school, all of my friends used to play football, and you know, at lunchtime and stuff, I'd like be with them, but I'd be stuck in goal, like just having a jolly up, didn't know what I was doing. And then Ridgeway Rovers had trials on, and a girl I was really good friends with, she wanted to trial and didn't want to go by herself. Yeah. So I said that I'd go along just for the fun of it, to be there as a support system for her, and went to this trial and enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. And the coach at the time, Kev, he said that, you know, he could see potential in me from whatever he'd seen. So I got signed to Ridgeway, and that was my first club that I was at. So I was at Ridgeway from 15, played there for 3 or 4 seasons, played up with the 18s quite a lot. And that's where my football journey started, really. So I started really, really late into the game. I started at 15, and it completely transitioned my life. So if I didn't start playing football at 15, I wouldn't have everything I have now in like terms of my career and the clubs I'm at and the experience opportunities that I've had and like been fortunate with.
So how did you get into the coaching from the football?
So it's through college. I went to college in Epping, and our coaches at the time were from Tottenham. Right. And again, was just playing football, like training for a jolly up. And my coach at the time approached me and said that I was mouthy and that I'd be perfect being a coach. So he offered to put me through my levels with Tottenham, and I declined. I said, like, I've got no interest in coaching, would never want to do it. And then about a month later, I offered it to me again. And I thought, like, I might as well just do it. It's another thing to add to the CV. So went to Tottenham. They paid for all my levels, like all my training and stuff. And then I started doing, it's called like the CEC program. So basically I go there on a Friday night at one of their soccer camps and would watch people coach and then assist in it, all completely for free, just to get the experience. And then kind of fell in love with it more than I thought I would. So from that, started coaching not one evening a week, went on to 3, 4, then working the days and working in half terms, and then turned it into a full-time career, really. Okay,
amazing. And did your mouthiness or gobbiness, did you find that helpful when you were coaching at, say, the soccer school or with the boys? And how is it different for you coaching the girls from the boys? So I know you still do both, right? So 2 questions in one there.
So I think going into any situation, especially as a girl going into boys football, men's football, in most cases, you're already kind of at a disadvantage. It's bad to think of it in that way, but you already have parents or other coaches looking at you like you're a girl, you're not going to be as good enough. So I think having the mouthiness gives me, I'm confident in what I'm doing. So I think that helped me massively, you know, showing up to a training session and being the loudest person in the dome at Tottenham. And then not only being loud, but putting on a good session through my confidence. It helped me massively. It kind of shut down allegations that I was just there because I was a girl. I was there because I was a good coach. So it helped me massively. And the difference between boys and girls, I've been fortunate in the fact that I've not really ever had to deal with people, you know, speaking about me being a female in boys or female football. I've been treated the same equally in both. The only way that I change is, like you said, the way you speak and the way you handle with boys and girls is completely different. I don't think people understand the difference that there is between the two. So
give us some examples. Give us some examples, please.
So I feel like girls listen more in the fact that not that they're better at listening, but they take on a lot more information that you give them. Mm-hmm. And whether that's to be with the resources they've had prior, they've not really had a lot of resources to that, so they want to learn as much as they can, or whether, you know, anything like that. So girls respond a lot differently to boys. So you'll give them something to go away with and you'll see them working on it and coming back to you 20 times. Is this right? Is this right? Is this right? Whereas with boys, they will do the same thing, but not as much. And they're not as inquisitive with what they're asking. So girls will ask you 20 questions about the one point you've given them, whereas boys kind of want to work it out on their own first. So you kind of have to give girls more time and give them more patience in what you're teaching them. So in a session with boys, I would show them 5 things at once, whereas with girls, I show them 3 things at once, because girls have a lot more questions. So it's a lot more patience you have to give them within that session.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest difference I find with that, the way you communicate and the way you handle in situations, especially within sessions.
I mean, that is so important, because that could just put somebody off straight away, a young girl off, if you're giving them 5 things and they really want to get into the nit and the grit and the detail of 1 or 2 things. And I see it with my niece. So it's funny when you say that, because it resonated straight away. Because if I take her and my son for a session and I do 1 or 2 things with him, and she's still on the first point and she wants to perfect that point and make sure she's got my attention to make sure that she's doing it right. So I get your point. It's a valid point. So go on, Dan.
So Abbie, I want to, before we move on completely, because you kind of started mentioning about what I was going to ask you anyway, in terms of how, so you've obviously coaching boys and girls, do you find the praise of individual and in terms of boys like this real individual praise that you've done really well compared to girls happy to have a collective praise together? They're happy to, like, say, as a team, working as a team, where boys kind of want, okay, team done well, but what have I done?
Yeah.
Do you find that a big difference as well?
Yeah, massively. I feel like, so I coach a boys team on a Friday and they play at the weekends, and emotions are very different in boys and girls games. So boys get angry and emotional a lot quicker in different situations, whereas girls, it is still emotions. But like you said, with what I find with boys, you have to individually praise. You can't praise as a team as much. You have to individually praise players. Whereas with girls, I feel like a lot of it is a team thing. If you praise as a team, they all take from that. Whereas with boys, I find you have to individually praise each player. Otherwise, it is the fact of, I get it a lot with the team I have now. If I say we've all done really well at half time, I get 3 of them go, yeah, but what did I do well? Or if I could go to one player, that was a really good shot you done. The other player would be like, oh, yeah, but what my one? It is very individual, which isn't an issue. I don't find it an issue at all. I'm happy to praise individually, but there is a big difference. Whereas with a girls' team, if you go at half time, who played really well, they're all like, oh yeah, okay, and they take that praise on. Whereas again, boys are very inquisitive with things. They want to know what they personally have done well.
Okay,
100%. Matt, sorry, Andy. I just feel like we're leaving Matt in the corners.
I was just going to him, so it's all good.
Matt, so we hear it a lot. You, I think you're a witness in, like, the boys' team that you coach. that you have some real leaders in the game, in the group. Like, in terms of how that emerges in the girls teams, how do you see those natural born leaders? Is it the same kind of attributes, or is it slightly different in terms of how they take leadership roles in the groups that you've been coaching with?
I think, you know what? I think the confidence of individuals in girls' teams is a lot less. So they're less likely and less want to come forward and own responsibility. Whereas the boys will want to fight for it more within their team. So, whatever it is, a 7-9-a-side, 5-a-side team, boy, and to Abbie's point as well, right? It's they all want attention. Whereas the girls' teams that I've worked with over the last 2 or 3 years, it'll be the odd one that will want to, have that praise or get that attention. Whereas they all want attention and they all want specific praise to improve their games. But I think from a leadership point of view, I think what is not done enough as well is given enough responsibility to everyone within those environments and within those teams. And I think it's making sure you put things in place that allow every individual to have their voice within that team, because girls won't necessarily step forward and own it. And it does depend, right? Like you're talking, and we're generalizing, right? There's always girls within certain environments that are as inquisitive or have as much want or need for that specific praise or feedback, right? But I think, and to Abbie's point, if you generalize it, they will hide more rather than stepping forward. And that's and I think that's, at the end of the day, that's probably just a confidence thing a lot of the time. And I think it's because they've not necessarily been given responsibilities individually and a platform to step forward and own whatever responsibility you're giving them at that time.
Do you think that would change in 5-10 years with the evolution of the game?
Yeah, I've seen it change already. And I think also it depends on, and it depends on the level, right? So the more, I think there's a big thing between when I started boys, when you start at Ryan, there's an expectation of performance, right? They play in generally the topper leagues of the Echo League. There's a expectance from parents, etc., etc. I think with girls football, it's a little bit different because they're not necessarily there yet from having, certain clubs only having high performance teams. Like so many girls are just starting out their journey now rather than being in it 4 or 5 years, like some kids. And I think it will get there where I think it will be the same. I think obviously the characteristics of girls and boys is very different in terms of their mentality and like Abbie touched on, right, in terms of how they approach information and how they digest it and what they do with it immediately afterwards. But I think having worked with sort of girls that are on the upper level scale in terms of performance for their age group, I don't see much difference from them to the boys at a same level. So what I mean by that is that there's a couple of girls that left our teams this year to go to the West Ham performance squad, and those individuals I don't really see much different from the higher level boys that are in our team from applying themselves, taking ownership, the intensity of just how they play and how they behave. So I think it will get there where everyone is aligned to that kind of. I think it's a mentality shift for some of the girls, and it will take a bit longer, but I think they all will get there because it will just flatten out where you've got so many girls playing football, and you'll have beginner teams and mid-level teams and high-level teams in the same way. It's not there yet.
And sorry, Dan, go on.
Sorry, Andy. Matt, just touching on what you said about those girls at the higher level. So this is to both of you, I guess. Like, I feel that times are changing, and I think being a girl dad as well, I'm an advocate for those girls that are at the level to maybe have the mix and blend. I know it happens now. You get the odd one or girl that plays in mixed teams or boys teams as well. And I think I've seen it where there's been a particular girl my son played against, and she's really good. Yeah. But I think other parents don't like it when this girl kicks their son or pushes the boy to the floor. But I'm an advocate for this, to having more girls playing mixed sports. Like, I know it gets to a certain point where puberty and other things come into play, and I get that's when maybe the separation happens. But up to a certain age, I think they should be able to play mixed sports and compete against the best boys if they're at the same level of regardless of gender. And I just feel, is that something maybe you both into evolution? What's next? You'd want to push those top girls. Would you like to push them on? I know you want to have the best girls team in the region and you're doing the best things, but for that individual, would you advocate and push for them to play mixed sports with the best boys in the region if that was able to happen?
I'll let Abbie answer this one first. I've got my own opinions on this, but it'd be interesting. I'm not actually asked you this, Abbie, so it'd be interesting to know your thoughts on that.
My opinion, people are quite shocked by one. I'm a big advocate for mixing boys and girls. I say it to people all the time. For me, as it's not rude, it's the plain obvious, the physicality to boys football, to women's football, girls football is completely different. I'm the biggest advocate for girls mixing with boys, simply on the fact of the physicality and the bigger challenge. You know, in the biggest difference that I see from boys and girls matches and training is, you know, the getting your elbow up and pushing your arm in the back or things like that. You don't get it in women's football or girls football because, you know, it's not within their nature. I went to a tournament 2 weeks ago and there was a boys tournament. There was one girl across the whole tournament and she was the most physical player I've seen in ages. She was giving it. She was putting the little leg out. This is under sevens and she was getting her arms up and she was getting in the back of them. And she was the best player compared to the boys. That's not me even just saying that. She was voted the best player of the tournament. And I think it shows you how much it does develop a player. I know so many people won't agree with it. And that's not me saying that girls should just play mixed sport or mixed football. You can have a girls team, but the difference training with boys will make once, twice a week. It makes a massive difference. And I'm a big advocate for having that physicality introduced within that football sessions.
Yeah, I think obviously one day you want to get to a point where you don't feel like you should have to mix them. But I think there's not enough good girls teams in a certain amount of area to not facilitate girls at a higher level that want to play. Like, baseline is girls are too nice to each other when they play each other. Like, hands down. Like, when girls play girls, not when they get older. I'm talking about foundation stage. So I'm talking about under 11s, under 10s, 9s, etc. When they get older, secondary school is different, right? They do get a lot more physical with each other and they're not as nice to each other. But in the younger ages, unless they play with boys, they don't learn the intensity they need to be able to play quickly, to do actions quickly, to find space quickly, to all of the technical sort of small 1 meter by 1 meter, 2 meter by 2 meter kind of technicals and movement that you need. They need to play with boys, but the ideal situation is they play with both, right? So then they might get the friendship stuff from playing with girls, and then they get the higher level sort of physical challenge with the boys. And to be fair, the best girls that we've had at the club also play for a boys team, so they do both. And you know, they're just too nice to each other. But when they play with boys, they realise that, you know, the boys are not going to be nice, and they've got to then learn how to either find space or learn how to use movement or their body, because they're going to get clattered otherwise, and they're not used to it. And, you know, from a development point of view, it also just depends on the girl as well, right? From a mentality point of view, that some of them and most of them are not necessarily ready to play against boys. And I think we've had a successful sort of build from different types of sessions is giving them their own space when they want it, but also encouraging a mix when we feel like they need it or they want to try it out. And it's super important to make sure that spectrum is there from beginners to then higher level sessions or teams, because then it's about giving everyone the development space that they need, because like we all know, kids develop mentally and physically in different ways. But short answer is, unfortunately, you want to get to a point where there's loads of good physical girls teams, but they learn it from playing against boys, because that's just the nature of younger boys. They're a lot more instinctive. They're a lot more. They play higher intensity because they're a lot more competitive. Girls can be, but they're just not not all boys are competitive in a way that not all girls are the same, right? Some different. I'm just generalizing as a whole.
Okay, so I'm going to bring it back to Ryan FC girls in a second, but just on that point, just to round that off, you mentioned that you think boys are probably naturally more competitive than girls. And I just wonder, who are these girls that are walking into the Ryan FC girls setup at the age of 9, 10, 11? Who are their role models in terms of footballing heroes? Are they watching the Beth Meads and the Lauren Jameses, or are they watching the Cole Palmers and the Harry Kanes? And does that matter?
Abbie? No, I can answer that, but look, it's good that you go for it.
Yeah, for me, when I was playing football, I never really had a role model, because it wasn't something that I was looking to progress into professionally. I just played it for the fun of playing it. I think nowadays, especially with the growth in women's football that is happening to the Euros now, I think there is a lot of female role models to players, but you see it a lot even at sessions now. Girls will come into sessions with, your Mbappes on the back, your Palmers on the back. There's still, I think the idea of like generalizing that girls' role models are just girls is false. There is a lot of girls who look up to male footballers because where it is so apparent, and their brothers are watching it, and it's their role models. It's apparent across that you can have girls and female and male role models for girl players. I feel like in boys, it's very rare that you'll find them to have a female role model, just because it's not what they're surrounded by. It's not what they're down to watch. They watch Premier League, they watch things like that. If it's very uncommon to find a boy with a female role model, which is something that I reckon will change in a few years to come with the progression into women's football. The Euros now, I feel like with more competitions and more broadcasting of women's football, that will change. But for now, I think it is a mixture of both for girls and quite dominant for male role models in boys football.
Make you right. I might get Bon Matty on my Spanish shirt for the summer.
I don't know. I'm saying, so my thing on that is maybe not role models, but I think especially the boys' knowledge. Like I listened to my son, like the other day, I was watching the England game, and he knew vast majority of the women team. Yeah. And so I can't imagine years ago talking to young boys playing football, they could name you more than 2 female footballers. But now my son knew these footballers, that knew who they were, who they played, what they've done previous seasons and stuff. So I think their knowledge, I think that's the education of young boys, and just I think as a nation, we all know who the Chloe Kellys are and the Beth Meads, and like all the players that are bringing joy, where the male team has unfortunately failed to do so. Yeah, the women have got it over the line. They brought the trophies home, and they brought a nation to success. And I think it's kind of rubbed off onto the younger boys as well. So they know what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, the women winning that and bringing that trophy home made a massive difference to boys' knowledge and boys' insight into women's football. Like you said, a few years ago, if you started to talk about Lucy Bronze to a boy or a man even, they wouldn't know anything on it. But I think, like you said, them doing what the men have failed to do and bringing home a trophy, it's been a massive uplift to, broadcasting women's football and saying that they can do it as well. And like you said, now young players, especially boys, are aware of female footballers and can watch an England game and name who's passing the ball and stuff like that.
I think it's so much of it is a build, right? It's like face in the media, face on product, face on your match, on your trading cards. It's like how many times on the TV is it seen? Like Ted came running in, like my youngest the other day, and was like, Matt, like dad, look at this. And he used to show me like this female players skilling up other female players. And it's cool to him because it's just a footballer skilling up someone else, right? But because it's a female, it's been broadcast, it's been cut, it's been put online. You know, it's a building that, and I think a lot. But to your point as well, Dan, I think what they hear at home is as important as what they're seeing on the TV. So if you've still got, you know, family setups or individuals within the home not being positive about females on the TV or whatever it is, then that's still going to take longer for those individuals to respect whoever it is they're seeing in front of them, right? Because they've been told one narrative over another. But you know, you look at, hopefully it will get to the point where a footballer's a footballer. It doesn't matter who they are, like where they're from, what gender they are, like 100%. You know, and it will get a lot closer. But you know, like there's still so much nonsense that goes on, and you see it grassroots every week.
Perfect, Matt. Perfect. You've led me to the next question. Yeah. So you talk about.
I'm ready.
So when you talk about what we hear at home and what we hear at home and what our kids are told and our boys are told, what girls are told. This is the question. Yeah. What's the difference between the parents from the boys and the girls? Because I know there's a difference, 100% I know the difference. Yeah. But I've not coached a girl side. So I've not experienced
the joys. It's not fun, man. It's not fun. So like we had an under 11s team last year playing the under 10s boys league, and it was the higher level. So basically last year we only had one under 10s team. We then had two under 11s teams this year, and one was higher level. So we split them and we put them. We were like, you know what? You're going to play against the boys and see how you get on the year down. Some of the language on the sideline, some of the language from some of the boys towards the girls. I'm not even going to say I'm not going to say some of the things that have been said, but some of the behavior. Don't let girls do that to you. You just got da-da-da. It was all just derogatory, kind of as if they were inferior. And, you know, I'm not even, you can guess maybe some of the things that might have been said. But in terms of, I think in terms of if it's an all girls game, the behavior on the sideline is very different than if it's a mixed game. Put it that way, and it's a lot more pleasant when it's just girls on the side, like it's girl parents on the sideline. I mean, that's the politest way to put it without going into detail. That, you know, I don't know how much you want me to talk about on the pod, but yeah.
So as long as you don't get yourself in trouble, let it out.
Yeah, well, look, just things like even so the last game of the season, so the girls they were beating this team 4-0, and they were getting called lesbians. They were getting kicked up in the air
by the boys or the parents. Sorry,
no, by the boys on the pitch.
Wow,
and these were 9-year-old boys.
That's wild.
And some of the parents were like, "These are girls. How are you letting girls beat you? Kick them. They won't get up." And it's it's like it's primitive, boy. It was primitive, and you're just like, "What is wrong with you? This is grassroots football. This is like one step flat." It's like
it is primitive. I have a question on that. Do you think the same behaviours would happen in the school playground from the boys? Not the lesbians chat, but it's a girl. How are you letting a girl twist you up, for example?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I guess it's
like you like, you know, I talk to the girls about it a lot. You know, we have conversations around just but because that stuff was happening a few times over the season, we rarely had open conversations around like how they felt about X and Y and just their thoughts on how they deal with things. And the biggest comeback was like the biggest buzz for them was skinning boys and beating boys teams, because it was just a complete reaction to like FU basically.
Yeah.
And
sorry.
You know what? And the biggest thing I was proud of them, I wasn't their coach last year, but I was heavily involved in their training every week and whatever, and just their attitude to not reacting to it was amazing throughout the whole year.
How do their parents deal with that though? Because it's one thing as a player dealing with it, and the boys, the coaches seeing how great they respond, but that's your daughter.
Yeah.
Being called names. That's your daughter being kicked in the air. That's your daughter having to react and maybe control her emotions. And as a parent, you don't want your princess to have to deal with those situations. So I think my first question is, how do the parents of the girls deal with that? And do you think going forward, as across the board, there needs to be some kind of quality control in terms of how you police and provide workshops regarding how parents safeguard themselves and their children in such environments?
Yeah, you know what? A lot of them found it tricky, right? Because I think, and I think you guys know this as well. It's like sometimes when parents are also new to football and new to grassroots football, say it's their first year that they've experienced their child being in a team, it's such an emotional thing for a lot of people. And then to see, your daughter getting kicked up in the air or pushed over or booted or, something that is a bit too much. They found it very difficult, and I think there needed to be a lot of conversations over the year about just getting them to understand performance sport and not necessarily accepting it, but just football's a contact sport, and obviously foul play is foul play. But beyond it being not okay, as in stuff that was like crossing the line, and it didn't cross the line too much from what I saw, right? But it's them dealing with being okay with how physical the game would have been against boys compared to what they might have seen or not seen at all, depending on how much they've been involved in football as a whole at youth level. But a lot of the stuff that we've done at the club and will continue to do next year is a lot of education around what good behavior looks like, what a good environment looks like, and how you kind of navigate some of the nonsense that does happen on the sideline. Because we've all seen enough of it, right? And it's like, how do you deal with it? What's expected? What is the protocol of, like, say your girl's just been taken out into, pushed over or punched, or where the worst case scenario, like, should you be running on the pitch doing something about it? Who should you be going to? Do you go to the coach? Do you go to the referee? So I suppose when something's not too extreme, say it's just a bad foul, what is the expected behavior, or if you're really upset, what is the protocol you go to, rather than just running on the pitch and trying to do something yourself, right? And I'm exaggerating a point, but at one point
it happens.
It does happen. And there was one situation where a parent had filmed something and took it over to their coach. And it's like, you can't be just running across the pitch, approaching another coach from another team and sticking your phone in their face, right? It's like, I get that it was a bad foul and that the referee should have seen it. But again, it's part of that, it's education, right? And to your point, Dan, right, it's making sure everyone understands or, just appreciates the information that they need to have. Because how many times we've seen when under sevens teams start for the first time, boys teams, and parents just don't know how to behave. They don't know how to act on the sideline. And then it just obviously that's then them sorted for the rest of their grassroots, right? Under 8s, under 9s, under 10s, behaviour stays the same. I think the biggest problem with grassroots football, boys and girls, is there's not enough education around match day and good behaviour against bad behaviour and how to deal with things emotionally right from the beginning, right from before, you know, anyone starts their first grassroots football team with their child, right?
That's a very good point. I don't think parents are sat down or even spoken to and say, this is what it looks like, this is what may happen, and you may feel this, but this is what we should do and this is what should happen. And it didn't happen to me. That's how you and I became coaching buddies, really, because we got into it. But we got into it in a cool way because we were able to talk about it, right? And then you moved forward. And then you left, and then you became the girls' coach. And then you started having teams. So how many teams did you start with, Matt? And where are you now?
So we start with the Wildcat session. And then I think that was like March 23. And I think then March, the season after that, not that, so that wouldn't have been that September, it would have been the September after. I think I get lost, man, with the years. It all blurs into one.
Abbie, help him out.
Yeah.
Probably just as bad. I don't know. I think we started off with Wildcat sessions, so it was just the Saturday sessions.
Yeah.
Inviting everyone to come.
For about a year, wasn't it?
Till the year later, we started to do teams and having the Wednesday sessions.
So we had an under-10s team in the Hackney Marshes Girls League. That was the first. And then the second season was 4 teams. And then this year we've got 5 teams. We did have 7, and then I had to fold the one I was going to take, and, you know, a few of the others didn't happen. So, yeah, we've got 5 this year.
Okay. And what have been your biggest challenges within the club, if you're allowed to speak on that? And what's been your biggest challenges outside the club?
When you say in the club, what do you mean?
Well, I know that Ryan FC isn't designed for girls' football, and it wasn't. And like you said, although there were 2 female coaches at soccer school, girls' football was foreign to Ryan FC, and Ryan FC has been established 25 years or so, right? So there must have been challenges, like you mentioned, you touched on one in terms of the playing area. You were given a little tiny patch of grass to start off with, and you demanded your own space. So challenges of that nature, have you experienced any others? You think that's probably not club related, or just generally?
I think, you know what, right? I think the Rich, you know, has been supportive of the whole thing right from the off, but he was very standoffish in terms of, not intentionally, but he was like, you want to do this, then it's on you. You run it. Everything's on you. Like, I don't, you know, I'll help you if you're struggling, or if you need a contact, or, you know, if you need me to help negotiate, you know, pitches, or, you know, there was a little bit of handhold in the beginning. And I think that one is a trust thing, which is fair enough. You know, like there's one thing being a coach, and, you know, I'd known Rich for probably 3 years before that point. So, you know, I built a rapport with him. I did a lot of volunteering for them, and, you know, having the boys team, and hopefully seeing the way that we ran that, you know, was a good environment, and we're doing things the right way, and we're trying to do it at the highest level possible. So I think there's a trust factor. Abbie was involved. You know, he obviously knows Abbie very well, trusts her. So I think just us setting it up, he's just been like, you know what, do what you want, and you got my support, but I'm not going to be there. You need to do it, right? You need to drive it. Everything's on you. And that's been a good thing, because, you know, he's trusted us enough to go, you know what, run it any way you want. And even the other day, it's like, you run it better than I run the other club. So, you know, I'll take that too. But
I praise.
Yeah, absolutely. And this year, we've actually gone a step further, and we've set up, and we're accredited as our own club.
Oh, wow.
So we're now Ryan FC Girls on the whole game system, on the club portal, but we're now we're the child club to Ryan FC, the parent club. So we're linked, but we're separate. So now we've got our own committee, which means obviously from a a governance point of view, that's on us as well. So it's good, you know. And this year we're going to register as a charity, so we've applied to the Charities Commission, and we're waiting on that from HMRC as well. So it's just a build. Like it's taken time. The challenges have been getting more female coaches in. You know, there was the three things I set out at the beginning, and me and Abbie talked through it all. And it's like, look, they don't get priority. Girls don't get priority. Best coaching, they don't get the best pitches at the peak times, right? They're the three things. There's no female coaches in general. And when you find a good one, you've got to make sure they stay for as long as possible.
That sounded like a shot at you there, Abbie.
It was. I was waiting for it, to be fair. He's got a fair point.
We'll come back to that. We'll come back to
Matt,
that.
I may have someone for you on that along those lines as well. We can talk about it. I know someone.
Yeah, but the challenges were getting good quality coaches, right? Female coaches, so that they were a role model in the setup. And yes, like, I've been a big advocate for like making sure that the gender bias at the club is 70-30, so 30% males, 70% women, and we're there, and we've been there quite early on, and to make sure the quality of the sessions are as high as any other sessions, if not better, especially at the same sort of beginner level, mid and high. That was the most important, and I had to then set up, I suppose, area football development programs to make sure that happened. So because there was no female coaches, I got together with my UEFA C mentor and was like, should we just run a female coaching program? So, you know, that then got funded. We did a pilot with the FA that got funded for 10 months.
Amazing.
And now we're running it full time. So now it got funded for another year. And we've had probably, I think the numbers we looked at the other day was about 105 female coaches in and out of the sessions. So, like a lot of stuff, right? There's a problem, you solve it. Just get on and do it. To Abbie's point earlier, right? Is like own it and make a change, because no one else is gonna stand around and not do it, right? It's just go and do it. So, you know, that's been amazing, and some other initiatives we set up. So,
and let's talk about your Wildcats as well, because you set up tournaments, didn't you, to find players and to encourage girls to have games in addition.
Yeah, look, you know what? It's a strange one, right? That, you know, when we were talking about it, the idea that it was just like girls need to have, and it started off with girls, and then you realise that actually maybe even it needs to happen with boys, right? As well, is that they come to these sessions, right? The Wildcat sessions, and then you dump them in the league and go get on with it. That's what happens to boys. Is the mentality different in terms of? Are they okay with that? Are they going to be confident? Is it going to kill their love for football? Are they going to be overly anxious every game? Like, how does it work for them? But so, you know, the thoughts we have are like, well, why can't we create a stepping stone to that? So you've got a Wildcat session, then you've got a tournament you run once a month, and the important aspects were, it was on Astro, it was on a full-size Astro. There was female referees. It was non-competitive. The main point is it non-competitive, no points, nothing. It was still proper games. Everyone's still wearing club. It's still against other clubs. So it felt like a competitive environment, but there was no pressure. And the biggest win that comes from that is parents behave differently. Coaches behave differently. The players behave differently. So then you're creating this environment where girls can feel like they can just come and play and have fun. And it makes a massive difference, because they're not already, whether the girls or boys. I don't know with boys. I've not done that kind of environment for boys, because I've been at Ryan before, and they kind of, I suppose the soccer school is that kind of thing to some extent, right? But
yeah, I think the soccer school is, and I think the boys we dealt with initially were confident boys generally, because they were coming to play in the Echo A, right? So they may not have needed that stepping stone.
Yeah, totally. But I think just in terms of these development, the girl, like the amazing thing about this Wildcats Festival is that the year afterwards, 5 teams from that then entered leagues.
Yeah, amazing.
Because they'd been playing for a year, once a month. The girls knew the rules, they got used to it, they felt confident. So it's basically been a stepping stone from basically the rec sessions to the teams. Here's the middle bit for some girls that aren't ready or don't want to play or just want to try it out. And then when they fall in love with it, bang, you sold. You don't need to sell it to them. So I think for us, when we kind of did it, it was about providing an opportunity that was right for every single individual, rather than just assuming, the cookie cutter kind of solution. You're going to have to fit into this mold and work it out for yourself. Works for some people, it don't work for all.
No, I think great transition. I think it, like you said, touching on Abbie's point, you sourced a need, you filled it, you just went and did it. And I think a lot of what you've been doing is just identifying the gaps and just filling the gaps and doing what's necessary with your wealth of experience and knowledge, saying, well, the boys have this, the girls don't. Or I can see the girls need this, so just doing it, which is brilliant. But I want to go back to the shot you took at Abbie, because you were very, very...
That wasn't a shot, definitely not a shot.
I was waiting for it, there.
So Abbie, as I said, I touched on, I had to do a bit of research on you because I'd seen you from a distance. I knew you at Spurs, because I saw you on an email that I got from Spurs.
Yeah.
And I was like, Matt, that's Abbie, right? And he was like, send me the picture. And I think he sent it to you. And it's like, yeah, I think that may have been when you started down there. But I think you're well established there now. And part of my research, I saw that you're into the sport from a medical perspective as well. I don't know if you want to talk on that. But also what I didn't know was you were part of the Baller League recently. So yeah. What's going on with Abbie?
So the dig at Matt, to be fair, he said it isn't. It's a valid dig, to be fair, because, he's given me all this praise, but the past year I've been quite vacant at Run SC Girls, and I'm at 5 different clubs at the minute. So my life is 24/7 football, 5 different clubs. So I've not been as involved in it as I've wanted to be. So last season I was with the under-21s women's at Tottenham as a mentor, Leighton Orient as a sports therapist for the ladies, and 2 years ago for the men's. I'm at another development, so OTP, and then Ballers League, I'm the physio for United. So wow. It's a lot.
You need your own podcast. We need to get you on separately.
Yeah. So it's a lot of football, but I love what I do, the medical side and the coaching side. So not a lot of time for things that I want to prioritise. So, for example, the Run SC Goals, when I do come eventually after maybe 3 months or however long it is, seeing all the girls run over and stuff, it's such a great feeling they still remember you and still have that role model for you. But yeah, life is busy at the minute, but it's a good thing to be busy, I think.
Great. All of that's amazing. And I can imagine when the girls see you, they, like you said, they're excited. Abbie's back, and you've got a wealth of knowledge and experience that you're building up, which is great as well. So you're never too far away. I'm sure Matt can give you a call and you'll still answer his calls for now, at least, unless he digs you out again. But
no,
I'm joking.
Never.
No, I'm joking. So just a quick question. I know Dan probably got a question for you, but the girl who invited you or who didn't want to go to the football trial on her own, is she still your mate? And what's she doing in football now if she is?
No, so I've not spoken to her since probably a year after we left school. So
is it? Oh.
We only kept contact about 2 years after I started playing football, which is a shame really, because without her my life wouldn't really be shaped the way it has. If I didn't play football, I wouldn't have gone down the route of physio in football, wouldn't have got into my coaching. But I'm no longer in contact. We speak maybe once every few months on birthdays and stuff, but not in contact with her as much.
Does she know she's been this influence, or she now does since this pod?
Well, she probably now does. It's probably something I've not really mentioned to her, if I'm being now thinking on it.
Sounds like you're saying a thank you live on air.
Yeah,
can we do that? We like to do this stuff. It's not all just about the football, but she had a massive influence, and your career, like you said, is now football. So 7 days a week. So thank you, friend. You know who you are. Dan, did you have a question for the guys or Abbie on her footballing?
I think Abbie, more to you guys. I've known Matt. I know me and Matt spoke a little bit about what he does and his coaching as well. But I guess more about you. So, if that 15-year-old girl didn't go and keep her friend company, where would Abbie be today?
Probably on a much different path, if I'm being honest. So probably would have kept with the horse riding. Well, I was always going to be a physio, but I wanted to be an equine physio. So a physiotherapist for horses. That was like my dream always, to be a vet or go into horse physiotherapy. So kind of on the same pathway in the medical side, but definitely not with people, especially not footballers. I would have been in a vet somewhere, probably treating animals. So yeah, massively steered the course for my my life, my journey.
And Matt, for you, what's next?
So I just accepted the.
Whoa, Toby, can we have some breaking glass this week? This is a world exclusive, massive news. Matt's going to share with us.
No, I've not really told anyone yet, actually. But no, I'm gonna lead the under 10s ETC at Leyton Orient next year, for next season. So I'm also waiting on my application for my UEFA B. So hopefully working with a women's team next year. Yeah, big things. It's good. It's
So you're working with women's Orient team
part time, right? And it's all being volunteering.
So is that working at Orient women?
Yeah, so the ETC Orient girls, yeah. So it'll be the under 10.
But women's first team as well. Do you say? You doing
I'm
both?
gonna try.
So, Abbie, what he's saying is you can't get rid of him. Did you hear? That's what he's basically saying.
What he's saying is I've tried to get rid of him with Ryan. Now he's
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to work that out. But yeah, no, like, you know, the UEFA B will start in February next year. So, yeah, I think just trying to build this club into something, a full pathway. I think getting as many females coaching and in and around their environment. I think, you know, trying to get as many women on the committee. You know, just developing the right environments, I think, for the club. I think a big thing as well is just making sure, at the minute, we've kind of ticked the beginner box. We've kind of offering the Wildcats and the Wildcats Festival. We've got teams. We've got now mid-level to high-level a few teams. We keep losing players to pro clubs, which is, you know, a good thing because it's offering them a pathway. I think we might start to do some more sort of technical, small-sided sessions that are open to other girls from other clubs as well. But I think it's just about growing the club, building the community, and just trying to provide the right environment that we believe is the right thing to do. There's lots of education that needs to happen, but you've got to, you know, to Abbie's points, and you know, I'm sure you'll agree, is that you just got to behave in the way that you want the change. You know, you've got to behave. You got to be the change you want to see, right? I know it sounds cheesy, but you've got to behave a certain way. You've got to demonstrate certain values and not just say them. You've got to, you know, it's a build. It's always a build. But hoping to just build this club into something that's a full pathway is the kind of big what's next.
Yeah, and being the change you want to see, I think, is definitely the tagline for the show. And I think Ryan FC Girls are very fortunate to have yourself, Abbie, Zoe. I know she's got a wealth of experience as well. And I think you've got a few more coaches now. I don't know all their names, but you can shout them out after. But I think with the experience you've got, Matt, with the knowledge you've gained, with you and yourself and Abbie being the change you want to see, you're seeking your knowledge, you're working on things, you're trying things out. Now you've got positions, like you say, you're creating a pathway, and now you're growing the club so that it pretty much will have everything that the girls would need at different levels. And then Abbie's wealth of experience as well, and things that she's doing, and a little bit of celebrity with Ballers League, etc. I think it's all important, though, Abbie. I think it's important that you represent a different side to Ryan FC Girls, right? A little bit of celebrity is good, the badge that you wear as well, the badges you wear as well, and Matt will wear a badge now. And it's not all about the badges, but that little bit of exposure, that little bit of celebrity, that bit of they're connected, affiliation, is all helpful in growing a product and a brand. Right? It's not a bit of an end all, but it's important.
No, but to your point, it's, and you know, this is like a massive like admiration for the effort you put in, and you go after something, and Abbie's done that, right? And it's not even, I think ever since I've known you, you've gone for the next big thing, you've gone for another thing. You're like, you know what, I'm doing it. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna conquer it. I don't even know where you're gonna be in the next year. You know what I mean? It's still me, man.
So that's brilliant, though. I mean, and we joke on the pod sometimes with our other guests that we may not be able to get them on again in a year's time. When the conversation's been so great, we say, "Oh, get you back."
Yeah, she's gonna be charging you next time.
This is what I mean. I think she might even like be the next Alex Scott already, or someone, or Jill Scott. She'll be taking over everything, and we won't even be able to get through. I don't even have her number now. Matt will ask you, and you won't even be able to get her. So
I won't passing it on. I was like,
no, don't.
Got to protect her, innit?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, but that's brilliant, guys. I mean, it's absolutely great. So a couple of things we like to do. We always like to ask you, and I'm going to ask you as a collective, and you can decide between yourselves who's going to answer it. But I don't know how many shows you've seen of ours, but if you haven't seen any, I think there's a good one coming up, actually. It's coming out tomorrow, and it's She Plays Football. So I don't know if you're familiar with that resource. It's a girls' resource, and they came on a couple of weeks ago, and they were absolutely brilliant. They loved it, and we had a great conversation. So that one comes out. When this one comes out, it'll be 2 weeks old, but for you guys, it's tomorrow. We asked them this question. We asked everybody this question. If you could, who would you like us to interview on this pod? And before you answer that, you have to try and help us get them on. So who would that be?
Matt?
Emma Hayes all day long. Good luck with that. I've met her once, and I've got a few questions out of her. But
why Emma Hayes?
She just embodies everything to do with just female empowerment, sticking the fingers up to whoever she wants, and just getting on with it and doing it and being herself. You know, being herself is the biggest asset, right?
Yeah.
And I think too much in this world, people aren't themselves, and through, you know, individualism, egos, just she's done what she's done. She's been herself, and there's no what's the right word? She's not apologetic for anything.
Yeah, she wasn't last year, and she had a bit of a bust up with another manager, didn't I see? Was it the cup final?
Yeah, that was with the Arsenal manager, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. I think it was.
Yeah, I don't know the ins and outs of that, but that would be for me, that would be the
Emma Hayes. All right, I'm going to send her an email because she's in the States now, and I'm going to copy you in and say Matt said this is an intro or something like that. You said you met her, so. Yeah, Abbie, have you got anyone that we might be able to get on?
What, through me personally trying to get them on?
Yeah, you put in a good word.
I could have a talk to people. I'm not going to put any names out in case I stitch them up with it, but yeah, definitely probably one to get on would be, like you said, like a Jill Scott and Alex Scott. You know, an ex-professional footballer now, still got their experiences on football, whether that be a male or a female. Obviously, leading on from this, if it's a female, then it links nicely to their experiences. Obviously, we can talk about it as a coach looking onto it, but getting a player who's experienced that themselves would be a good one to have on. It'd be a good insight to have. Something that I can try and work on.
Okay.
Try and help. But yeah.
No pressure. No pressure.
You know what, just give us a brief and we'll work at it.
All right. Perfect. All right. Listen, guys, it's been a pleasure having you on. I've learned a lot.
Matt,
oh, sorry.
We need to know where we can contact them. You can't go
Yes.
from Ryan to Ryan Girls. You're your own entity now. So where can everyone contact you? All these new budding female footballers that want to come play for Ryan, that want to come get autographs of Abbie, that want to come get your ball mastery from you, Matt. Where can they find you?
So we've got our own website, ryanfcgirls.com, and the Insta is ryanfcgirls. So it's all through that. I don't have my own thing because I'm, you know what, I'm like, I haven't got time to promote 2 different channels, and also we're just trying to do it for the same thing. So, you know,
For Abbie, we need to see your agent, or is it your secretary?
management company.
Yeah, so I've got a work Instagram page, so for my coaching, my physio, everything with Ballers League, and it's ALB Therapy on Instagram. So
Okay.
all my work professional stuff's on that side.
Okay, brilliant. ALB Therapy, Ryan FC Girls. Right, perfect. Everybody knows where to get at those guys. Can you hit that button on your Instagram now? Go and follow Ryan FC Girls. Go and follow ALB Therapy. And as Daniel's doing the fingers, can you like this page? Can you subscribe? Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification so when we come out next week, it comes straight into your screen. Go on our Instagram page and follow us on Ballatallcost. Guys, we thank you each week for following us and subscribing. The numbers are going up, but not nearly enough. We want to be as popular as Abbie. Do you understand? It's going to take a lot to do it and get there, but we want to be. One day we will. Maybe not. She's moving very quickly up this chain. But no, all great. No, Abbie, it's brilliant. I'm only digging you out because I think it's great stuff that yourself and Matt are doing. And Matt wanted to have you on because he said you're imperative to what has happened with Ryan FC Girls. And that's a testament to yourself. And Matt, is a testament to you, the things that are coming your way, all the hard work, all the conversations we've had. I know you've had a million more. And I know it's been tough. And you haven't even really scratched the surface on how tough it's been. But testament to you that there's real traction happening now with Ryan FC Girls. And when women's football evolves again and gets another step closer to the men's game, you guys will be part of that and would have been part of that journey for the next crop of footballers winning World Cups and Euros for England. So we thank you in advance.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to chat. At last.
Well, that was your guys, but listen, we're going to get you back on. Abbie, you have to commit to coming back on as well with Matt.
I will, I promise.
Daniel, can you free of charge? FOC as well, yeah. And Matt as well. Matt's doing big things as well. We might not get him back either. So,
mate, yeah, I'll always come on for you. Always.
Perfect. All right, listen, guys, we've taken up enough of your time. We've been Ballatallcost. You've been Abbie and Matt, Ryan FC Girls, and we are out.
Thank you.